Mrs. Bay was a gentle-looking woman, born into a poor family in a village in Quang Ninh. In her youth, she was praised for her diligence and skill, especially her cooking. She married Mr. Tam, a kind, simple man, but their married life was short-lived. One day, Mr. Tam went missing after working in the forest. His body was found near a stream, bruised with strange wounds. Many rumored Mr. Tam was attacked by wild animals, but Mrs. Bay believed her husband's death was no accident. After Mr. Tam's death, Mrs. Bay completely changed from a cheerful person. She became cold, quiet, and often muttered strange things. She distanced herself from the villagers, secluding herself in her small house at the edge of the village. Neighbors didn't dare approach her, because sometimes they saw her sitting in front of her house, her vacant eyes staring into nothingness. That night, as usual, Mrs. Bay sat in front of her house, looking sorrowful as if missing her deceased husband. A sudden gust of wind came from nowhere, brushing against Mrs. Bay and making her shiver. Then, a familiar voice echoed, as if from the underworld. "Bay!" Startled, Mrs. Bay stood up and followed the voice. In the yard before her husband's grave, she saw a familiar silhouette, but it was now merely a faint, smoky presence hovering over the tombstone. Knowing it was her husband's spirit, she tried to calm herself, reminding herself not to be afraid. She cautiously approached the ethereal figure and called out, "Tam, are you here for me?" Tam didn't answer immediately. Then he floated closer to Mrs. Bay, weeping pitifully. "I died unjustly. I was murdered, not attacked by wild animals." Mrs. Bay, hearing this, completely let go of her usual fear of ghosts. Her face contorted in anger, as if all her long-held suspicions had been confirmed. She looked at her husband's vengeful spirit and demanded, "Tell me everything. What happened? Who harmed you? I will avenge you so you can rest in peace." Tam, with tears welling in his spectral eyes, replied, "It was Neen. Neen killed me." Mrs. Bay, baffled, asked, "Why would he kill you?" Tam then recounted, "Before I died, I went hunting for rabbits in the forest. By chance, I met Neen. We chatted happily on the way. However, as we went deeper into the forest, we smelled a pleasant aroma. A seasoned woodsman like me immediately recognized it as agar wood. Neen, too, realized it. We followed the scent and discovered a large agar wood tree. Upon closer inspection, we realized it was the extremely valuable *Kainam agar wood. Neen, not wanting me to have any, repeatedly struck me with his axe until I died on the spot. He didn't stop there. He mutilated my body to make it look like a wild animal attack, then dragged me out of the forest and pretended to call for help, making everyone believe I was attacked by an animal." As he spoke, two figures in black robes suddenly appeared, floating in the space. "You foolish soul, how dare you reveal secrets from the underworld? Come with us to the underworld to atone for your sins." With that, the two figures produced a thick, heavy chain, bound Tam's spirit, and vanished into the gloomy space. Mrs. Bay watched, stunned, then cried out, "Husband!" She then sank to the ground, weeping bitterly and piteously. After a while, Mrs. Bay's hatred reached its peak. She glared in the direction of Neen's house and muttered, "You dog, you dared to kill my husband? I will show you the price a woman whose husband was stolen pays. I will make you wish you were dead." Mrs. Bay stood up resolutely and went inside. The next morning, Neen, as usual, went into the forest to hunt rabbits. Mrs. Bay also took a large forest axe, hid it in a basket, and then stealthily followed Neen's shadow. It wasn't hatred blinding her. Mrs. Bay knew her own strength. She was confident she could finish Neen in the forest, where he would be alone. Though over 50, Mrs. Bay was incredibly strong, tough, and resilient, a true daughter of the mountains. Since childhood, she had worked in the fields and was familiar with the forest. She had hunted rabbits alone in the forest before, so she knew that even a strong young man like Neen might not be able to harm her. After trailing Neen closely for a while, she waited until he was off guard, then struck his head several times with the axe she carried. He immediately collapsed, convulsing, and then lay still, unconscious, with no signs of life. Mrs. Bay smiled with satisfaction, dragged Neen's body to a clearing with sparse trees, dug a shallow pit, threw the body in, and covered it. On her way back, Mrs. Bay suddenly noticed a captivating aroma wafting through the air. It was indeed the delicious scent of some food. Her hungry stomach led her to follow the scent, which brought her to a small house tucked away in the forest. Peeking through a crack in the door, she saw an old woman standing by the stove, smoke rising from a steaming pot. Mrs. Bay guessed it was *Bánh Giò, rice dumplings, and the wonderful smell confirmed it. She was about to leave, not wanting to disturb the old woman's privacy, when she witnessed a truly horrifying sight. The old woman dragged a large sack to the stove, opened it, and inside was a fresh corpse, clearly someone who had died only a few days prior. The old woman then slowly took a knife, carved flesh from the corpse, put it into a small basin, poured some liquid like wine over it, and added spices, mixing it thoroughly. At that moment, the pungent smell from the basin of human flesh spread, filling Mrs. Bay's nostrils from where she stood outside. Suddenly, the old woman looked up towards the door where Mrs. Bay was standing and said softly, "Since you're here, why hide outside like that? Come in." Startled, Mrs. Bay stepped inside. The old woman smiled kindly and said, "Is that you, Bay? Have a seat." Mrs. Bay was surprised. "You know me, Grandma, but I've never met you." The old woman let out a long, eerie, and mysterious laugh. "What did you expect? Is there anything in this world I don't know? You're probably wondering what I'm doing, aren't you? I'm making Bánh Giò with a special filling. And how special it is, you've been watching from outside all this time, haven't you?" Then, the old woman picked up a wine bottle and presented it to Mrs. Bay. "This is Hong Lone wine, a secret recipe passed down by my ancestors. To make the most delicious Bánh Giò, one must use fresh human flesh. But I don't want to kill people. This wine has a special effect. When poured over recently deceased human flesh, it makes it incredibly fresh, just like living flesh, and gives off an irresistible aroma. That way, I can sell many Bánh Giò and become rich, you see?" Mrs. Bay felt utterly disgusted. This old woman must be insane, she thought. Mrs. Bay made an excuse to return to the village, ostensibly for urgent business, but mainly to report to the village leader about the deranged old woman in the forest, hoping everyone would deal with her and perhaps even pin Neen's death on her. But as she reached the door, Mrs. Bay's body suddenly froze, unable to move. Then, from behind her, she heard a terrifying, chilling laugh, the old woman's laugh. The old woman now revealed her true form, an ancient demon with wild, white hair, long, sharp fangs and claws. She floated before Mrs. Bay and snarled, "Do you know how long I've waited for this day, you fool? Now you can't escape. You're just a vessel waiting to be filled." With that, the demon extended her hand upwards, and Mrs. Bay's soul was immediately sucked into it. The demon then quickly flicked her tongue, swallowing Mrs. Bay's soul. After consuming Mrs. Bay's soul, it transformed into a wisp of black smoke and instantly entered Mrs. Bay's body. Mrs. Bay's body slowly stood up, her eyes gleaming, then returned to normal. She then wore a mysterious smile and gathered all the belongings from the old woman's house, taking them back to Mrs. Bay's own home. Now, she would retrieve Neen's body from where it was buried and bring it home. A few days later, Mrs. Bay's house was renovated by her into a Bánh Giò shop named Remembering the Past Bánh Giò. The aroma of the rice dumplings began to spread, attracting villagers to come and try them. Mrs. Hai, a villager, saw this and said, "Oh, Mrs. Bay, have you decided to open a Bánh Giò shop now?" The gentle Mrs. Bay replied, "Yes, I've wanted to open a Bánh Giò shop for a long time, but I didn't have enough capital. Now that I've saved enough, I've opened this small shop to earn a living. My husband is gone, and there's no one to be the pillar of the family. I don't have children either, so I have to plan for myself, dear. Here, try one of my Bánh Giò from the steaming pot. See if it's delicious. Please give me your feedback." Mrs. Hai happily sat down at a table to try it. Indeed, ordinary Bánh Giò sold in markets couldn't compare to Mrs. Bay's. It was incredibly addictive. Once you started eating, you couldn't stop. "Wow, it's so delicious. If it's this good, your shop will definitely be packed. You'll make a lot of money, Mrs. Bay." Mrs. Bay just smiled faintly. After a while, Mrs. Hai left. Mrs. Hai was friendly, so she saw Mrs. Bay open her shop. She found Mrs. Bay's Bánh Giò to be of very high quality and unforgettable. It was so delicious that she kept coming back. Every day, it became an indispensable part of their diet, almost like a staple besides rice. Villagers often joked that Mrs. Bay's Bánh Giò was unique. Eat it once, remember it for life. Mrs. Bay's Bánh Giò is the best I've ever tasted. Consequently, her Bánh Giò shop was always bustling in the mornings. Women in the village eagerly bought them for their husbands and children. Young people sat at the shop, eating and praising them profusely. Mrs. Bay's Bánh Giò is absolutely amazing. You have to eat 2 or 3 to be satisfied. On chilly days, the steaming hot aroma wafting from Mrs. Bay's shop made the atmosphere even more inviting. The fragrance of Bánh Giò spread throughout the village road, making passersby unable to resist stopping to buy one. The white, smooth, silken rice cake was soft and pliable, yet not mushy. The filling was rich with minced meat, fragrant with strong pepper and fatty fried shallots. Each Bánh Giò, neatly wrapped in fresh green banana leaves, exuded a complex, sweet aroma that made everyone crave it. Early in the morning, as the sun began to rise and the lingering mist still hung low, Mrs. Bay's cooking pot was already aflame, sending delicious steam wafting everywhere. Men stopped to buy rice dumplings to take to work. Women bought several for their children's breakfast. Children stood in front of the shop, gazing at the hot dumplings being wrapped for them to hold. Everyone agreed that Mrs. Bay's Bánh Giò was number one. Nowhere else could one find such a flavor. However, the strange thing was that even though her Bánh Giò always had meat filling, Mrs. Bay was rarely seen buying meat at the market like others. So, where did the meat for her filling come from? One time, a woman from the village asked, "Sister Bay, you rarely go to the market, do you? Yet you always have ingredients to make your delicious Bánh Giò." Mrs. Bay gave a faint smile, her eyes revealing a strange glint, and said, "Oh, I do go." "How could I not? You just don't notice." Hearing this, the neighbor forced a smile and returned home. In the village, there was a young man named Tam, a neighbor of Mrs. Bay. Tam was a kind and straightforward person. In the mornings, he often went to the market to sell vegetables and fruits. Recently, he noticed that Mrs. Bay's new Bánh Giò shop attracted many customers. Her delicious Bánh Giò earned constant praise from the villagers, and her shop was always bustling. Tam was also a connoisseur, so he often visited Mrs. Bay's, remembering the past Bánh Giò shop to try them. One day, Tam decided to eat there. When he entered, Mrs. Bay was wrapping a hot Bánh Giò. The sweet, fragrant aroma filled his nostrils, and Tam couldn't help but praise her. "Mrs. Bay, your Bánh Giò is truly delicious. I'm also passionate about making Bánh Giò, but I haven't learned the secret to making them so good. I see your Bánh Giò shop is doing well, and I wonder if you could teach me how to make them so I can open my own shop." Mrs. Bay looked at Tam, a fleeting, unreadable glint in her eyes, but she smiled and replied, "This profession isn't easy, Tam. To make Bánh Giò like mine, you need a secret recipe and skill." I don't usually share much. However, because Tam was a kind person, she couldn't refuse. She added, "All right, if you want to make Bánh Giò, I'll teach you a few small secrets. But remember, the secret must be your own. Everyone has their unique secret. That's what makes a shop stand out." Tam felt excited and determined to learn. In the following days, he started making Bánh Giò at home, meticulously following Mrs. Bay's method. However, despite his diligent efforts, his Bánh Giò never tasted as good as hers. His rice cakes weren't as soft, smooth, or fragrant. He wondered, "I'm making my Bánh Giò exactly like Mrs. Bay's, using the same amount of rice flour and ingredients. So why isn't it as good as hers? Does she have another secret?" Nevertheless, Tam was determined to sell his own Bánh Giò from home to compete. Tam's Bánh Giò stall wasn't large. It was set up in front of his house, with a few simple tables and chairs. Although his Bánh Giò were quite tasty, they couldn't compare to the distinctive flavor of Mrs. Bay's. Initially, Tam received some customers, but soon his stall became deserted. Meanwhile, Mrs. Bay's shop was busier than ever. The villagers only remembered the rich, delicious flavor of Mrs. Bay's Bánh Giò, and Tam's shop gradually saw fewer and fewer customers. One afternoon, when Tam's Bánh Giò stall was quiet, he decided to relax and strike up a conversation with the customers who were eating. He wanted to understand why his new shop, despite all his efforts, couldn't attract as many customers as Mrs. Bay's. A group of 3 women from a neighboring village stopped by Tam's stall, and one ordered a Bánh Giò. They ate and chatted merrily. When they saw him sitting nearby, they said, "Tam, your Bánh Giò is delicious, but I still prefer Mrs. Bay's." Tam's smile was strained. He wasn't surprised by the answer, but he decided to press further. Oh, ladies, what's so special about Mrs. Bay's *Bánh Giò*? I mean, her recipe and ingredients seem similar to mine. Mrs. Lan, one of the women, chewed her *Bánh Giò and said, "It's hard to explain, Tam." Mrs. Bay's *Bánh Giò has something unique, not just the flavor, but the sensation when you eat it. You eat it and it feels incredibly fresh. Especially the meat in the filling, it's perfectly seasoned and so fresh, as if it was just cut and cooked. Your *Bánh Giò* is good, but it's missing something. Tam nodded silently, wanting to ask more but hesitant about how to phrase it. Another woman in the group, Mrs. Mai, chimed in, "Exactly. I think Mrs. Bay's *Bánh Giò has something special. I don't know what it is, but after eating one, you just want to eat another. Maybe it's her technique, or because she's been making them for so long, she has a knack, or perhaps she has a secret family recipe." Tam felt a pang of bitterness. He forced a smile to brush off the conversation, letting the customers finish their meal, pay, and leave. Tam went back inside, poured himself a glass of water to soothe his feelings, and felt a knot in his stomach. Recalling the words of the three customers, Tam suddenly had a strange feeling about the Bánh Giò* filling. It increasingly made him uneasy. Was Mrs. Bay truly hiding some secret? As Tam sat lost in thought, pondering the compliments for Mrs. Bay's *Bánh Giò*, a strange customer entered his shop. He was a middle-aged man with a weathered face and sharp eyes. He greeted Tam simply and sat down on a chair near the window. Tam didn't pay much attention, but when the customer ordered a *Bánh Giò*, he slowly prepared it out of habit. After the customer finished his *Bánh Giò*, he suddenly spoke softly but assertively. "Tam, your Bánh Giò* is good, but honestly, the meat filling in Mrs. Bay's *Bánh Giò* is truly special. Yours feels too common, nothing unique, just like the *Bánh Giò you buy at the market. No offense, as a fellow villager, I'm just being honest, Tam, don't be sad." Tam started, looking up at the customer, a wave of discouragement and disappointment washing over him. The customer continued, oblivious to Tam's crestfallen expression. "About Mrs. Bay's *Bánh Giò*, I don't know where she gets her meat. In our market, there are 3 main meat vendors, Mrs. M, Mrs. Tra, and Mrs. Bach. I wonder where Mrs. Bay gets her meat from that's so fresh, flavorful, and fragrant. It truly feels so fresh and tender when you eat it, yet still has a certain chewiness. It just melts in your mouth, making the whole Bánh Giò come alive, unlike any other." Tam felt a cold shiver run down his spine but tried to maintain a calm demeanor. He asked with a trembling voice, "Oh, really, Uncle? Thank you for your feedback. We are fellow villagers, so it's good to give advice to help my shop improve. Don't worry, Uncle, I won't be sad." Tam hesitated, an uncomfortable feeling rising within him. Suddenly, something was stirring in his mind, but he still tried to force a smile and chat with the customer until the busy man eventually left. Tam continued to sit contemplatively on his chair, the customer's feedback weighing heavily on his mind. Why do I have this persistent intuition that Mrs. Bay is hiding something? I don't know what it is, but I always have a question in my heart about her Bánh Giò*. Finally, he decided that tomorrow morning he would follow Mrs. Bay to see where she got her meat from. He needed to investigate what she was doing to make *Bánh Giò that no one else could replicate. A powerful urge drove him. The next morning, Tam decided not to open his shop, partly because he felt tired and partly because he was determined to observe Mrs. Bay. He knew that today would be his chance to uncover the secret she had kept hidden. He prepared himself, rested his eyes for a moment, then sat in front of his shop, his gaze fixed on Mrs. Bay's house. Today, I must find out where she buys her meat, Tam thought. Then I'll buy it from the same place. If she has a special meat supplier, I need to know, and if possible, I'll try to make my Bánh Giò* like hers to see if I can sell them. Tam felt strange. Despite his best efforts to observe all morning, Mrs. Bay did not appear. By afternoon, he began to worry. Heavens, I've been watching from morning till afternoon, and Mrs. Bay hasn't come out. Where is she? She should be at the market early every morning to buy ingredients for her Bánh Giò*. But she's nowhere to be seen. So where does she get her ingredients from? How can she make Bánh Giò without going to the market? Perishable items don't last more than a day. Thousands of questions churned in his head, making him anxious to uncover the truth. By evening, the sky had turned a deep dark color. Tam still hadn't gone home to bathe, determined to wait until Mrs. Bay appeared. And there was one thing. Today, Mrs. Bay, for some unknown reason, hadn't opened her *Bánh Giò shop. His eyes never left her house, but he still saw no sign of Mrs. Bay. At this point, he couldn't be patient any longer. Curiosity overwhelmed his reason, and he decided to stand up and walk closer to her house. Darkness enveloped everything, and the silence was chilling. He walked very softly, trying not to make any sound, his eyes scanning Mrs. Bay's windows for any trace. He stood there for a long time, looking through the faint crack in the window, but saw no sign of her. Could she really not have gone out? A sense of unease began to spread through his mind, a vague fear rising. He decided he couldn't wait any longer. But as he turned to leave, a snickering laugh erupted from Mrs. Bay's house, making Tam's hair stand on end. He instinctively turned back, and from Mrs. Bay's window a pair of furious, red eyes glared at him. Terrified, Tam ran for his life. He ran a considerable distance before finally reaching his house and slamming the door shut. Does Mrs. Bay's house have ghosts, or was I just imagining things? He wondered. He quickly composed himself, went to his room, and tried to forget the fear he had just experienced. Tam covered himself completely and sank into a deep sleep. The next afternoon, while fishing by the river to clear his mind, Tam suddenly saw Mrs. Bay appearing in the distance, carrying a large pickaxe on her shoulder, followed by a thick sack. Mrs. Bay walked very quickly, seemingly in a hurry. Tam stopped and squinted, watching her. Where is she going with a pickaxe and a sack? It can't be for farming or tending to plants. No one does that at this hour. He felt something strange about her actions. She walked quickly towards the outskirts of the village. Tam thought she was probably just doing something unrelated to making *Bánh Giò*. Although still curious, he didn't want to bother her further. He told himself, perhaps I'm overthinking things. Let her do her work and I'll go home, rest, shower, eat, and get ready to reopen my shop. He quietly turned and walked away, yet a sense of unease lingered. The sack Mrs. Bay was carrying seemed to pique his curiosity, but he couldn't confirm anything. A few days later, a terrifying phenomenon swept through the village, leaving everyone bewildered. Villagers began to discover that several newly buried graves in the cemetery had been dug up, and the bodies within them were gone. Strangely, the only trace left was a mound of earth, filled in as if the grave had just been disturbed and recovered. The next morning, when Ms. Hoa went to visit her recently deceased brother's grave, she was horrified to find the tomb had been dug up. Her brother's body was gone, leaving only a disturbed patch of earth. A wave of painful anger surged through her, and she returned home, her eyes bloodshot with rage. Mrs. Lan, a neighbor, saw her enter, looking distraught, and immediately approached her. "What's wrong, dear? Why are you rushing?" Ms. Hoa panted, unable to suppress the anger in her heart. "My brother, he just passed away and was buried a few days ago, and now his grave has been dug up and his body taken. Do you know? I'm so furious I could die. If I find out who did this, I'll go to their house and smash it to pieces, the shameless scoundrel." Mrs. Land's face turned pale, her hands and feet trembling. Several other neighbors also gathered to listen to Ms. Hoa's story. Mrs. Land shook her head. "Good heavens, this is incredibly strange. To desecrate a grave and steal a body? Who would dig up a grave of the deceased? Normally, people dig up graves for gold or valuables buried with the dead, but stealing a body? This is the first time I've heard of such a thing." Ms. Hoa looked around, her eyes blazing with fury, and continued, "It's unacceptable. My brother just passed away, and we carefully buried him. Now there's nothing left. What am I to do? Can anyone help me find the person who did this? I will reward them with *K Vang*, a traditional unit of gold." Mr. Hai, a man from the neighborhood, then spoke up. "Ms. Hoa, I don't think this is simple. What you say makes sense. Normally, people dig up graves to steal gold or buried valuables, but who would dig up a grave to steal a body? Is someone selling corpses? That's truly illogical." Ms. Hoa was surprised, suppressing the anger in her heart. She wondered about the motive of the person who committed this heinous act. Who would buy corpses? It was truly baffling. Mr. Hai lowered his voice and looked around. "I heard that in the past few days, not only your brother's grave, but also other graves in the village have been disturbed. It's possible someone is doing something related to these dead bodies, but we cannot remain silent. We must investigate this together." Ms. Hoa felt a surge of fear, but she also understood that if they didn't act, more incidents might occur in the village. She decided that no matter how difficult, they had to work with the neighbors to uncover the truth. "We must find the culprit behind this. Even if it means waiting in the cemetery at night, we cannot let my brother be desecrated like this," Ms. Hoa said with a determined voice. Mrs. Land stood there, pondering for a long time, then continued. "It's also strange that old graves aren't being disturbed, but newly buried ones' bodies that have been interred for only 2 or 3 days are being dug up and the corpses stolen. What's the purpose of this? Do they need recently deceased bodies for something?" The story of the desecrated graves quickly spread throughout the village, striking fear into everyone's hearts. People began to buzz with rumors about the strange events. Just a few days prior, someone in the village had died and been properly buried. The next day, the family went to visit the grave and found an empty mound. No one knew why the body had disappeared. Early in the morning, as villagers flocked to the market, the atmosphere was unusual, tense, and filled with unwelcome stories. From vendors to passers-by, everyone spoke of only one topic: the newly buried graves in the cemetery being dug up. Mrs. Mai, a hawker near the market gate, stood amidst the crowd, gesturing with her ladle, her mouth continuously spewing gossip. "It's unbelievable. No one in this village feels safe anymore. They say another grave was dug up. Buried yesterday, exposed this morning. Who would do such an outrageous thing?" Mrs. Mai's neighbor added. "That's right. I heard even the body is gone, and people are speculating that someone is taking the corpses for some strange, macabre purpose. I never thought such a thing could happen." Ms. Bin, a *ban bao vendor, stood up in alarm, dropping her basket, and exclaimed, "My grandmother once told me a story about a forest demon that stole dead bodies to make *ban geo filling, and then possessed a person born at a specific hour to open a *ban geo shop. It's like it wants to become human. First, it eats the soul of that yin-born person, then inhabits their body, living like a normal human. If it stays in the body for more than 3 months, it becomes fully human and lives in that body permanently. But if someone powerful enough performs a soul retrieval ritual before 3 months are up, heavenly lightning will strike, instantly scattering its soul." Ms. Bin's words heightened the tension in the air. Those standing nearby immediately fell silent, exchanging glances. People began to whisper about the strange stories they had heard. Mr. Tu, a pork vendor at the head of the market, shook his head and said, "What? A demon possessing someone to steal corpses for banjio filling? Could it be?" "No, surely not." Mrs. Mai interjected hurriedly. "Mr. Tu, are you saying Mrs. Bay is possessed by a demon? Good heavens, old man, you're overthinking it. By that logic, everyone selling *banjio in this village must be possessed. Nonsense." Ms. Bin looked around, then quietly added, "Exactly. Mrs. Bay, her husband, passed away, and she's just trying to make a living by selling *banjio*. It's awful to spread such baseless rumors about her. Her shop will suffer." Since it didn't sound logical, everyone dispersed, returning to their stalls and ceasing their gossip. That morning, Mrs. Bay walked to the market, carrying her basket, passing by familiar stalls. The buzz of laughter from a group of women gathered by a stall made her stop. She subtly approached, listening to their conversation. The women nearby were saying, "I heard some newly buried graves were dug up this morning and the bodies are gone. How terrifying. Someone must be doing something evil and perverted. There must be a secret here." And people say Mrs. Bay's *banjio* is incredibly delicious, addictive even. Perhaps Mrs. Bay's *banjio also has something strange about it, who knows? The whole group fell silent, a mix of curiosity and doubt hanging in the air. Mrs. Bay, after hearing this, scanned the group, her eyes briefly darkening with an unreadable expression, but quickly replaced by a gentle smile. "Heavens, are you talking about me? If my *banjio* sells poorly because of your words, I'll come looking for you." Then, Mrs. Bay didn't forget to advertise, "My *banjio* is delicious because I have a secret family recipe passed down by my great-grandmother. Just try it, and you'll know I'm not lying. It's incredibly tasty. What else is there to say?" Mrs. Mai, embarrassed, playfully teased Mrs. Bay, "Is that so?" Mrs. Bay smiled faintly and shook her head calmly, as if knowing she was being teased. After the small talk ended, the cheerful mood gradually returned. The people around continued to chat and joke. Their conversation shifted to another topic when Mrs. Mai turned back to Mrs. Bay, her eyes curious yet friendly. "Ah, Mrs. Bay, how's business these days? Everyone in the village praises your banjio*. Even customers from far away come to buy them. Your business must be booming, right?" Mrs. Bay replied kindly. Ms. Bin quickly added, "That's right, your *Bánh Giò* is delicious. It seems you're much busier these days. Your shop must be packed." Hearing this, Mrs. Bay gave a bright smile, casually smoothing her apron. "Oh, customers are steady. Some days are busy, some are quiet, but I always try to keep my *Bánh Giò* fresh and delicious. Thank you all for your support. But you ladies also know, I have to make a living after my husband passed away. Partially, I do it out of love, wanting to bring traditional flavors to everyone. My great-grandmother used to sell *Bánh Giò* too, but it wasn't as popular. The profit is only about 5,000 dong per cake, not much. Selling a few dozen or more a day is enough, and that makes me happy. Everyone, remember to come to my shop for *Bánh Giò*. Ms. Hong, standing nearby, didn't forget to ask, "You must be having busier days now, right? I see you always seem rushed, unlike before." "Yes," Mrs. Bay replied. "Sometimes there are a few busy tasks outside the shop, but I still have to take care of my *Bánh Giò* shop. It's my joy." Back at Tam's house, after a long day of work, he lay in his hammock, staring at the ceiling, his mind buzzing with thoughts. His *Bánh Giò* shop was no longer as crowded as before. Every morning, only a few people stopped by. Meanwhile, Mrs. Bay's *Bánh Giò* shop was always bustling, with customers constantly queuing up. He mumbled to himself, trying to figure out how to fix the reason his shop was so quiet, while Mrs. Bay's *Bánh Giò* was consistently praised. He had tried to replicate Mrs. Bay's methods, from choosing ingredients to the cooking process, but it still didn't work. Is my *Bánh Giò* not as good as hers, or is there something she's not telling me? He wondered, his voice sinking, his eyes filled with worry. Tam tossed and turned in his hammock, recalling his visits to Mrs. Bay's *Bánh Giò* shop. Her *Bánh Giò* was always fragrant, with a rich, fresh meat filling. He had tried to follow the exact recipe, but still couldn't achieve that special flavor. Does she have a special secret for choosing meat? Tam remembered hearing about Mrs. Bay's *Bánh Giò* when she first opened, but immediately after, a dark suspicion began to creep into his mind. Although he dared not make any claims, what he saw and heard only made him more curious about the secrets behind Mrs. Bay's *Bánh Giò* shop. There must be something wrong, but Mrs. Bay is a gentle person. How could she be involved in anything shady? Tam pondered, thinking about Mrs. Bay. Lying in his hammock, lost in thought, he felt a surge of curiosity within him. He promised himself that he would find out why his shop was failing, and that he would have to thoroughly investigate Mrs. Bay's hidden secrets. As the jumbled thoughts about the Bánh Giò shop and Mrs. Bay faded from his mind, Tam felt his body grow weary, and drowsiness washed over him, breaking through his emotions. He closed his eyes, letting his worries subside. The gentle creaking of the hammock slowly lulled him into sleep. The room was quiet, with only the rustling of the wind and the occasional chirp of birds. His eyes slowly closed, and his body gradually relaxed. He began to drift into a midday nap, letting his fatigue disappear. As Tam fell into a deep sleep, a strange dream began. At first, there were only hazy shadows, but gradually the desolate image of a cemetery appeared before him. He found himself walking amidst the graves. "Why am I in our village cemetery?" he wondered. In the silence, there was no sound, only newly buried graves lying still under the faint moonlight. Suddenly, a figure appeared, an old woman with white hair, her face obscured by a white scarf, revealing only a pair of cold, sharp eyes. The old woman wore a conical hat, weathered with time. Tam shivered, feeling a chill. He stood there as the old woman approached a newly buried grave, a pickaxe in hand. She bent down and began to dig into the soft earth, dust rising with each swing of the pickaxe in the cold, silent air. Tam couldn't clearly see the old woman's face, but her every movement struck him as eerily familiar, as if she had done this many times before. As Tam watched, he thought, "Who is this old woman? I can't see her face clearly, but her posture is so familiar, as if I've met her before. And why is she digging up a grave?" When the old woman dug deeper into the ground, Tam felt a shiver run through him. Something beneath the grave seemed to be pulled up, earth churned, and an object that appeared to be a corpse was slowly unearthed. This sight left him breathless, but his eyes remained fixed on the old woman. The old woman raised the body, then suddenly turned to look at him, her eyes cold and mysterious. She let out a horrifying laugh, and then her face gradually transformed, making Tam utterly terrified. It was Mrs. Bay, but her face was now completely demonic with tangled white hair. Her skin was wrinkled, her eyes gleamed an eerie green, and she had sharp fangs and claws. Tam woke up with a start, cold sweat trickling down his forehead. The feeling of the dream still clung to him. He couldn't breathe normally. He didn't understand why he had dreamed of this scene, but it left him with a strange fear. It was Mrs. Bay, Tam thought, his eyes dazed from waking up. He wondered if he was thinking too much about Mrs. Bay. I must be thinking about her too much, which is why I'm having such random dreams. It's nothing. Tam sat up, his heart pounding, sweat still beating on his forehead. The strange dream he just had felt like an unending nightmare. The image of the old woman with her face covered by a conical hat and the unsettling scene in the cemetery still gripped his mind. Now his curiosity surged again. Could it be Mrs. Bay? His voice was a trembling whisper in his own bewilderment. No way, it must just be a dream. But why was it Mrs. Bay in that dream? I saw her digging up a grave, and there have been similar incidents in the village. Could Mrs. Bay be behind all of this? He began to mentally list all of Mrs. Bay's strange behaviors he had noticed and previously dismissed. Combined with the continuous grave-robbing incidents in the village, he thought and affirmed, does she know a secret I don't? My intuition is rarely wrong. Yes, perhaps the biggest suspect now is Mrs. Bay. Better to investigate a false lead than miss the truth. I must look into this. After pondering for a long time in his hammock, Tam speculated, could it be true that she uses meat no one would ever suspect human flesh? This thought suddenly struck his mind like a sharp arrow. Yes, that's highly probable. Why does Mrs. Bay rarely go to the market, yet always have enough ingredients to make Bánh Giò every morning? And that day, I happened to see her carrying a pickaxe and a sack, heading towards the cemetery. I once thought she was going to work in the fields, but who works in the fields at that hour? So now I have a definite answer. It must be her. He stood up, pacing back and forth in the house, his mind still spinning with theories and unanswered questions. Suddenly, he remembered an old man once saying, the ingredient in Bánh Giò that makes people addicted and want to eat more and more, that's human flesh. Yes, it's highly possible Mrs. Bay has been stealing corpses from graves at night in the cemetery, bringing them home to process into Bánh Giò filling. This way, she doesn't have to spend money on ingredients, and it makes her customers addicted. That's right, she's over 50 but so strong. Dragging corpses from the cemetery would be easy for her, and the stolen graves are always newly buried, only 1 or 2 days old, so it must be true. He began to believe in the hypothesis he had formed. That evening, as night fell, the village grew silent, with only the chirping of insects and the gentle rustling of wind through the treetops. Tam sat in his small house, the dim lamplight casting shadows on the wooden table, but his mind was far from peaceful. Doubts and questions about Mrs. Bay swirled incessantly in his head, preventing him from resting. He stood up, his eyes resolute, his hands clenched. Tonight, I will follow Mrs. Bay to uncover the truth. His curiosity and suspicion had surpassed his self-control, and he knew that only by following Mrs. Bay could he clarify everything. Before leaving his house, he glanced out the window, observing the surroundings to see if anyone was passing by, as he wanted to carry out this matter in secret. He began to walk towards Mrs. Bay's house, moving slowly along the dark path, trying not to make any sound. When he got close to Mrs. Bay's house, he stopped and hid in the shadow of a corner so he could see without being seen. As the night deepened, lights in the village gradually went out. Tam patiently waited, his eyes fixed on Mrs. Bay's house. He continued to watch but saw no movement. Could she really not do anything tonight? Suddenly, Mrs. Bay's figure appeared. She wore an old coat, her white hair flowing out from under her familiar conical hat. Tam was startled but tried to remain calm. Mrs. Bay stepped out, holding a pickaxe and some kind of sack. Just as I thought, Tam muttered to himself, a chilling sensation creeping over him once more. Mrs. Bay left her house and walked quickly towards the cemetery, maintaining her usual silence. After following Mrs. Bay all the way to the cemetery, Tam realized that what he saw now perfectly matched his dream, Mrs. Bay's actions. Thus, Tam had enough evidence and reason to believe that Mrs. Bay was indeed the culprit behind the grave desecrations and stolen bodies in the village. All his suspicions were confirmed, and now he knew he had to act. He rushed back to his house, filled with outrage, determined not to let her continue. It's unbelievable that she would do something like this, he thought, and a plan began to form in his mind. He knew that if he didn't act immediately, things would only get worse. When he arrived home, he bolted the door and began to prepare. He took essential items from a corner of the house: a flashlight, a sturdy stick, and a piece of cloth to cover his mouth just in case. He didn't know how Mrs. Bay would react, but he had to be ready for any situation. In his mind, images of Mrs. Bay secretly digging up graves, along with the mysterious, chilling atmosphere as she walked in the night, replayed. He knew this was his chance to expose the truth, and he couldn't let it pass. As long as I catch her red-handed, she won't be able to deny it, he thought, and with renewed determination, he left his house once more. He had to go quickly to catch Mrs. Bay in the act of grave robbing. The next morning, Tam gathered a few villagers at Mr. Kin's tea shop for a meeting. The atmosphere in the shop was more serious than usual. Tam no longer concealed his suspicions. "Neighbors, for a long time I've had a suspicion, and now I know it's the truth. I believe the culprit behind the grave robbing and body stealing is Mrs. Bay. I followed her last night. I clearly saw her at the cemetery, digging up a grave." The villagers looked at him. Some were disbelieving, while others showed concern. "Mrs. Bay, really? How can you be so sure?" Mr. Kin asked, his eyes filled with doubt but also worry. "I'm sure. I followed her to the cemetery. She was carrying a pickaxe and a sack. I cannot ignore this, but I don't have clear evidence. We need a plan to catch her red-handed. So what's your plan?" "We'll stage a fake funeral. We'll wrap a large log in white cloth, pretending it's a dead body. Then we'll take it to the cemetery and bury it in a new grave. Tonight, we'll lie in wait there. If Mrs. Bay or anyone else comes to dig up the grave, then they are undoubtedly the culprit." The villagers began to murmur. Mr. Kin, a respected figure in the neighborhood, nodded. "That sounds logical, but what if no one comes to dig? We can't risk it. But if Mrs. Bay is truly involved, we can't let her get away with it. Let's wait and see if anyone comes to dig. If not, at least we can confirm our suspicion," Tam explained. Mrs. Land thought for a moment and then said, "This is a risky plan, but I agree. Tonight we will follow Tam's plan, hoping everything goes smoothly." Ms. Bin, sitting nearby, suddenly remembered her grandmother's words and became agitated. "And it's very possible that Mrs. Bay is possessed by a demon. Her Bánh Giò * shop hasn't been open for 2 months yet. If we don't quickly find a way to exorcise that demon, we might have to live with it. It will eat all of us." Mr. Kin replied, "That's right. Better to be suspicious than to miss something. I know a master from a neighboring village named Sue. He's quite skilled. I'll ask my son to invite him to join us tonight. Just in case, he can exorcise the demon. What do you all think? We must be prepared to be safe." Soon after, Mr. Kin's son successfully invited Master Sue, who arrived at the tea shop wearing a black robe with Bagua symbols, his hair and beard white. The master nodded to everyone and took a seat. Mr. Kin, on behalf of everyone, thoroughly recounted all the events in the village, their suspicions about Mrs. Bay, and the plan they were about to execute. Master Sue immediately nodded in agreement and offered his help. They found a log large enough to mimic a human body and then prepared a makeshift funeral procession. "We will meet at the cemetery when night falls. Just do as planned, don't miss anything." Everyone agreed and prepared to leave, each with a task. Although anxiety filled their hearts, they all understood this was their only chance to uncover the truth. Tam watched the villagers leave, his resolve firm. Tonight, the truth will truly be revealed. Night fell, enveloping the village in a profound silence. Stars twinkled, like witnesses to a daring plan about to unfold. In what was usually a peaceful village, the air was heavy and tense. People from the neighborhood gathered at one edge of the cemetery, ready to carry out their fake funeral to expose Mrs. Bay. Tam and a few villagers had prepared a large log, wrapped in white cloth to mimic the shape of a corpse. Dim oil lamps illuminated individual figures in the night. The villagers, their eyes tense but resolute, watched as Mrs. Land meticulously supervised the wrapping of the log. "It must be done skillfully, leaving no doubt," she said, carefully smoothing each fold of fabric to make it look as real as possible. Mr. Kin stood beside her, directing, "We must not let anyone suspect and make it very convincing. Everyone, remember to work slowly, don't rush." Everyone worked diligently. Some dug a shallow grave in the cemetery near an old tomb. No one spoke much, they exchanged only glances. Tam said, "Once the preparations are complete, we will quickly lower this fake body and bury it. Make sure everything is discreet." They silently carried the cloth-wrapped log to the pit, lowered it, and covered it with earth. This scene heightened their tension. When the fake grave was fully covered, Tam looked at everyone, his voice deep and resolute. We will disperse and hide around the area, keeping our distance so no one knows we are watching. We will lie in wait until late at night. If Mrs. Bay or anyone else comes to dig, we will expose them then. Everyone nodded, their eyes reflecting a mix of apprehension and determination. They began to scatter. The darkness of the cemetery enveloped the entire space, where only the sound of the wind and the soft footsteps of the hiding villagers could be heard. Everything in the cemetery was shrouded in darkness, with only old tombs and surrounding trees creating an eerie silence. Tam and the others from the neighborhood dispersed, hiding in the dense bushes on both sides of the cemetery. They all knew this was a decisive moment. One wrong move could expose their plan. The tension was so thick that every gust of wind felt like a terrifying sound. He tried to take deep breaths to calm himself. Tam looked towards the distant bushes where the fake grave was hidden, then glanced up at the dark sky. The stars twinkled above, like invisible witnesses to this night. Time stretched endlessly in the tense waiting. The silent moments lingered, no one dared to utter a word. Only the rustling of leaves in the wind could be heard. The darkness grew thicker as the night slowly passed, yet there was still no sign of anyone approaching. Time dragged on in the darkness. Everyone remained silent, holding their breath, their eyes fixed on the fake grave. Even a gust of wind made no one dare to stir. Everyone knew that as soon as any movement occurred, they had to act immediately. And then, just as everyone was starting to feel weary from waiting too long, an old figure appeared from afar. The figure walked softly, but clearly headed towards the newly buried grave. And that figure was familiar. It was Mrs. Bay. Everyone was stunned, then quickly realized this was the culprit Tam had suspected for so long. Mrs. Bay, holding the pickaxe, walked to the fake grave. A beam of light flashed, clearly illuminating the pickaxe as she thrust it into the ground. In just a moment, she began to dig skillfully. Those hiding in the darkness couldn't believe their eyes. They looked at each other, eyes wide. Tam's eyes lit up, determination burning within him. It's time. The entire group immediately rushed out from the bushes in the darkness, surrounding Mrs. Bay. She had no time to react to their sudden appearance, their faces contorted with anger. Mrs. Bay, what are you doing digging up graves? You're the one who's been stealing bodies from the cemetery, aren't you? Mrs. Bay looked up, her face initially startled, but in an instant she sneered, her eyes gleaming maliciously. Do you think I'm afraid of you? A villager standing nearby angrily demanded. What have you done? You can't keep deceiving us. Tam stepped forward, his eyes free of doubt. You have committed too many wrongdoings. It's time for you to pay the price for everything. But at that very moment, Mrs. Bay's face transformed, revealing her true form as an ancient demon. You foolish mortals, do you think you can stand against me? It growled, baring sharp fangs and lunging towards them, intending to devour everyone. Immediately, Master Su unleashed a powerful spiritual blast, pushing the demon far away. The demon stumbled to the ground before him. Master Su, having sensed the demon's formidable power, knew he couldn't fight it head-on. As the demon quickly rose, preparing to flee deep into the forest, the master quickly raised a bagua mirror. Light radiated from the mirror, swiftly capturing the demon's soul. After capturing the old demon's soul, Mrs. Bay's body collapsed to the ground. But before anyone could react, a benevolent aura emanated from a tiny grave in the cemetery. Master Su approached, took out a burning talisman, and threw it into that grave. Instantly, the grave burst into flames, blazing brightly. A moment later, as the fire nearly died down, a white shadow flew out from within. After Master Su questioned it, they learned it was Mrs. Bay's own spirit. The old demon had not eaten her soul, but had imprisoned it in that small, muddy grave. Since Mrs. Bay's time to die had not yet come, Master Su could help her soul re-enter her body. A moment later, Master Su performed the soul reintegration ritual. Mrs. Bay's body suddenly stood up, her face bewildered. Huh, what's going on, everyone? Why am I here? Everyone recounted the entire story to Mrs. Bay. After learning everything, especially that Master Su had revived her, Mrs. Bay knelt and bowed her head repeatedly in gratitude. After all that had happened, Mrs. Bay felt immense remorse and decided to confess. Actually, Neen's death was my doing to avenge my husband. He was the one who killed my husband to steal the Kai Nam Agarwood. After listening to Master Su's explanation about the principle of an eye for an eye and the karma of life, Mrs. Bay was deeply regretful. She decided, I understand now. Killing must be paid for. For the things the demon did while possessing my body, I will take responsibility. because no matter how I explain it now, the authorities won't believe me. So, consider this my atonement for killing Neen." Mrs. Bay looked at everyone, her eyes filled with tears, seemingly realizing there was no turning back. The entire group fell silent, no one dared to speak. But then a person in the crowd, unable to suppress their revulsion, stumbled back, covering their mouth as if unable to believe what they had just heard. A woman standing nearby turned pale, grabbing her stomach, unable to control her body. "Oh my God, the *Bánh Giò? I've been eating those corpses," she shrieked, vomiting violently onto the ground. She couldn't bring herself to look back, feelings of horror, fear, and regret flooding her mind. Not long after, another man, his face ashen, quickly raised a hand to his mouth, trying to suppress the urge to vomit. "Number impossible," he stammered, then continued to retch onto the ground, his body reacting strongly to the horrifying truth. An old woman standing nearby also turned pale. "So we've all been eating human flesh?" she whispered in bewilderment, her hands trembling. She had eaten Mrs. Bay's *Bánh Giò* countless times, always praising its deliciousness, but now the terrifying truth was exposed. The cemetery at that moment transformed into a gloomy space filled with sounds of retching, crying, and heavy breathing. Tam stood still, watching the people around him writhe in the terrifying truth. "This is why I had to uncover the truth," he thought, even though witnessing this scene was far from pleasant. Mr. Kin, too, couldn't hide the pain in his heart. "We must take her and hand her over to the law," he said, his voice firm but filled with sorrow. Everyone in the neighborhood felt a heavy shock. The terrifying feeling was indelible. Their minds reeled as they recalled all the times they had enjoyed the *Bánh Giò*, unaware that they were consuming something unimaginable. After Mrs. Bay confessed, the villagers felt stunned and horrified. They decided she could not remain free. Therefore, they quickly reported her to the authorities. A contingent of police officers, accompanied by villagers, proceeded to Mrs. Bay's house to arrest and investigate her. When the police arrived, Mrs. Bay no longer dared to resist. She bowed her head, unable to look anyone in the eye. A sense of overwhelming guilt consumed her. They invited people to follow her into the house, and the search began. Mrs. Bay's house was old and rather dark. The walls were decaying, and the furnishings were sparse. Suddenly, as the police team advanced into every nook and cranny of the house, they discovered something strange. Beneath Mrs. Bay's bed, there was a trapdoor. At first, everyone thought it was just a storage space. However, when they opened it, an unusual space was revealed. Everyone was horrified when they looked inside. It was a dark, musty basement, and inside it, piled up, were heaps of human bones. Hand bones, leg bones, skulls all neatly arranged. The flashlight's beam illuminated the white bone fragments, making the space even more terrifying. "Look, everyone," a police officer exclaimed. "These are human bones, unbelievable." A villager who had known Mrs. Bay for a long time silently stepped closer to look at the pile of bones. He couldn't believe his eyes. "This is exactly what she's been doing." Mrs. Bay stood silently, her eyes bloodshot, showing no resistance. Even she couldn't hide her horror at this sight. The police team searched the basement further, discovering other disturbing signs: large sacks filled with human flesh, neatly cut, and inside were butchering tools like sharp knives and cleavers. Some officers couldn't maintain their composure, turning away in dismay, unsure how to react. The police immediately collected evidence and filed a report. This basement was not only where Mrs. Bay kept the bones of innocent victims, but also the clearest evidence of her gruesome acts. The villagers couldn't believe what they had seen. One villager looked at Mrs. Bay, his eyes filled with seething hatred. "We have unknowingly harbored a killer all these years," he cried out, his voice full of rage. Mrs. Bay could only bow her head, unable to face the indignation of those who had once trusted her. Finally, the police took Mrs. Bay into custody and reported the case to the local authorities, following legal procedures. After witnessing everything, the villagers felt as if a part of their soul had been torn away. They simply could not accept that the person they had once praised was capable of such heinous crimes. After a long day filled with tension and shock, Tam returned home, carrying a feeling of exhaustion and emptiness. He couldn't stop thinking about what he had just witnessed: Mrs. Bay, the piles of bones, and the corpses she had dug up from the graves. He knew he had done the right thing, yet the chilling memory of it all made him lose his appetite. That evening, as Tam lay in his old hammock, the wind whistling through the window made the room feel desolate, and a sudden coldness enveloped the entire space. The oil lamp cast only a faint glow, while the encroaching darkness outside seemed to silently surround his house. Suddenly, he felt a cold current of air pass through him, making his hair stand on end. Tam looked around, and suddenly faint whispers seemed to emanate from the room. Tam lifted his head, his eyes wide with alarm. Then, ethereal figures appeared, and one by one, ghostly apparitions gradually materialized before him. Like pale specters, their faces were ruined, not intact, some decaying and festering like bodies from which flesh had been removed. These tormented souls floated in the air, their vacant eyes filled with pain and injustice. Tam shuddered, unable to collect himself when one of the ghosts spoke. "Tam, Tam," the voice was gentle, like a whisper in the wind. Tam looked up to see another ghost approach. It was the image of a man, his face terribly decayed, yet his eyes were full of gratitude. "I truly thank you. I am Tam. The demon dug up my body. Thank you for helping us find justice." Tam was speechless. He could only stand dazed before the spectral presence. Other ghosts then spoke. "We were innocent people, deceived and exploited to do horrific things. But you are the one who brought the truth to light and helped us find release." The ghosts no longer harbored resentment. Instead, there was deep gratitude. Tam felt a strange, warm glow spread through his heart, even though the surrounding space remained cold. Another ghost then spoke. "We are now at peace. Thank you, Tam, for bringing us justice." The ghosts gradually faded, and the whispers quieted, then fell silent. The room became tranquil, but Tam felt a lightness in his heart, as if a heavy burden had been lifted. The souls had found peace, thanks to his help. Tam quietly lay down. He looked up at the ceiling, his heart still filled with many tangled thoughts. But he knew he had done the right thing, and sometimes justice comes not just from ordinary things, but from sacrifice and courage in facing the truth.